comment, like, and subscribe. Hey, what's happening, YouTube? So you saw me pick this car up yesterday. It is a really nice Saleen. It's got the Saleen supercharger on it from the factory. It's been signed by Saleen here on the radiator support and inside on the dash. As you can see right down here, this car was made, this is a March 2005 build. So it's probably a 2005, I don't think it's quite 2006 model, but 2005 Saleen. Somebody upgraded the radio to a JVC, but it's got all the normal Saleen stuff in here with the gauges for the boost and intercooler here. It's been signed here on the dash. Of course, it's a manual transmission. First thing I noticed, I got in the car to leave his house. I didn't even think I had it in gear. I thought it was in neutral because that's neutral. Put it in gear. Look, it moves just as much in gear as it does in neutral. It's crazy, but it's because these are remote mount shifters from the transmission. They have bushings in them that go bad. I'm going to replace the bushings in it. Like, he didn't even complain about the shifter, but this thing is garbage. Look at that. That's like stirring soup, they call it. That's ridiculous. So I'm gonna fix that. It had a subwoofer system in it here. You can see the bass knob that was tied to this nice radio. I don't know if I still got the trunk popped. Yep. So I went in here. I took the stuff out of the back, and first thing I found was all this wiring hanging here. Check it out. Like exposed wire. I hope that's a ground. The power wire with barely a piece of tape on it. Some RCA jacks. This is the boost adjust here. So I'm gonna put a sub in here. I'm gonna get him the one that should have been in this car from Saleen that mounts over here. It may have had that, it may have had something else. Either way, I'm gonna fix that up for him. So he's gonna have a subwoofer in it now. And realistically, the reason I have the car is because he wants to do a full service on it. So all the fluids change. Make sure it's up there. Basically all the fluids. If you remember the 93 Cobra I restored a few years ago, same kind of thing. Flush all the brake fluid out, change the rear differential fluid, change the transmission fluid, do an oil change on it. Go in here and check the oil for the supercharger. It should be fine to 50,000 miles is what Saleen says. This car has 20,000 miles on it. So the oil should be fine, but I will check the level. I'll check the intercooler for the supercharger here, check the fluid, make sure the pump's working. When you turn the key on, it should cycle the pump. I'll flush the radiator system on it. I'll take the power steering fluid out, put new fluid in it. So basically full fluid flush throughout the car. That'll be the first thing I'm gonna do. While I got the brakes apart, I'll grease all the pins for the calipers, make sure they slide nice and easy like they should. It makes a big difference in how they feel. And then anything else I see, like the shifter bushings I told you about, and I'll go through. He just paid a guy to detail it, and to be honest with you, it looks pretty good from like this far away. When you get up close, you can see some imperfections in it, which, you know, he's a good friend of mine. I've known him for a very long time, and I'm not gonna send it back like that. I'm gonna go in here and do a buff on it and do a real light clean buff just to get a lot of these little surface scratches out of it. And it'll come back, it'll look really good. I'll put a coating on it when I get done. And whoever did it, they also what we call juiced the tires. So as soon as he drove it, it slung it all over the car. There was evidence of that stuff. Look here on the body and up here on the windows. Can you see that? It's bad. So, you know, your corner guy at the store may say he can detail your car and he cuts you a really good price, and you think, man, that's really cheap, but it may be cheap for a reason. Anyway, I'm gonna do this car right. Like I say, he's a good friend of mine. It's also a Saleen, which is near and dear to me. And we'll get it rocks, what am I saying? It'll be a rock star. It'll be ready to go. But it's pretty cool. Few things I noticed, it's got upgraded headlights with the little halo O-ring on it, which is kind of cool. But other than that, it's got the stock airbox. It's got the stock pulley down here on the supercharger. Somebody did upgrade the coils. Those are MSD coils, which normally I don't like because they have a misfire typically. 50% work, 50% don't. These seem to run really well and they're really smooth. So I'm gonna leave them. They should be fine. The biggest thing is to make sure the intercooler pump is working, and that keeps the inlet air temps down on the car. Other than that, stay tuned as we get another Saleen through the TTSaleen Speed Shop. So, I was getting ready to check the fluid here to see what kind of fluid was in it and how much. Look at that. That thing is dry as a bone. That's the intercooler reservoir. It's empty. Now one line runs over here to supercharger, one runs out the bottom, comes around here to the front and down. And down here, if you look there in the corner, that is the pump, and it goes to this heat exchanger up front. So to be that empty, I've definitely got to have a leak somewhere. There's probably a leak in the line, the cooler, something. And I got to put water in it now, make sure the pump's working, and see if there's a leak somewhere. Check it out. This is, well, this is the system I use. You can either pull a vacuum or you can take your air compressor and shoot some air in here, and you're trying to make it circulate and get the air out of it. So that's what I did. I got it working. I can actually put the regular cap back on it, but I'm gonna have to put antifreeze in. I just put water in it to make sure it works and no leaks. And so far, there's no leaks under the car. So I don't know why it was dry, but it's working now. It actually intercooled the boost and run cooler. All right, I got the filter loaded up with some oil, put some oil around the O-ring. You'll see in here, I've got the old filter off. All right, I'm putting the filter on. It's a FL820S Motorcraft. I like Motorcraft filters, they work great. I wiped everything off. I preloaded that with oil and put oil around the O-ring there. I'll literally go right here and screw this bad boy on like that. So I'm about to throw some synthetic fluid in here. You can run 5 weight 20 factory, or you can run 5 weight 30. Because this is a supercharged car, generates a little bit more heat, I like running 5 weight 30. It's going to take 6 quarts with the filter, so I like running Valvoline 5 weight 30 full synthetic. That's what it's going to get. As soon as I get this cleaned up here, I'll spray some brake cleaner, get all the residual oil where it drops off of there cleaned up from this line, which will be nice. Don't want any leaks. Then I'm gonna go right here to transmission. There's a drain plug here on the bottom. We're gonna pull that out, drain all the fluid, put that back in and seal it. And then right up here, it may be hard to see, but right up there is the fill plug. I've got some Synchromax coming, Royal Purple, which is why I'm running these, and I'll fill that up. That takes a little over 3 quarts. Like, gonna come back here. I've got a plug here for the rear end. I've got a vacuum suction hose I can put in here, suck the fluid out, put new fluid in with a friction modifier. I run Royal Purple. This car has the active exhaust. What that means is it normally runs through here on the tailpipes, and when you start making boost, it pulls the vacuum and it opens up this valve. And if you look the way it works, this thing actually moves back and forth, moves in to open the valve. Well, when I came out here, see this cable? It was popped up and off like that. It wasn't even attached. So this side wasn't going to work. So I hooked that back up, got to put a little cotter pin or retainer on top of that so it doesn't happen again. This one was actually stuck. I went to move it, it didn't want to move. It moves fine now. And what I'll make sure you can see in there, if you can see that valve, when it has vacuum, it's closed. When it doesn't have vacuum, it's open. So we'll have that fixed up. That'll make it actually growl, you know what I'm saying? These cars, they didn't paint them from the factory in the rear end, so they all look like they came off a tugboat. They all rust like that. That's completely normal. That's just how they did these cars. See the Saleen Racecraft shocks on it. And the springs they have up here, their spring package. So all original control arms and upper control arm, original 2-piece drive shaft, which if I was keeping it, I'd put aluminum 1-piece on it, but it's fine, it works. Stock mid pipe, stock exhaust. Everything else is just like you'd expect for a 20,000 mile Saleen. It's just sat up a little bit, it's a little dirty. I'll wipe all this off. You see the Saleen sway bars and their struts, just normal stuff for Saleen here. But up here is the shifter. Look at this, see how much it's moving? Those bushings are completely shot, so I can move it up, down, and left and right, and that's why it's so sloppy in its performance. See this? That is terrible. Anyway, I got parts coming for it. I'll show you about how to fix that. See what you think. All right, show you, I've got a handheld pump I use to get started. Then I've got a pump that works off my air compressor that'll suck it out with a longer tube. But for now, you just take your handheld vacuum pump there, take the plug out, and then when you pull this out of the rear end, there you go. And you just push it into your catch pan here, which I gotta have 2 hands to do it. And we'll basically suck all the fluid down, get it all nice and clean, and then put the new fluid in it. And the rear end will be updated with new fluid, ready to go. All right, just filled it back up with Royal Purple. You can see it draining out there. Basically, you fill it up till it starts coming out the hole. You let it level itself, which is what it's doing now, till the fluid quits coming out. Then you put your plug back in. You take some brake clean and clean all this up where you probably made a mess. So escalated quickly. You can pull the shifter out from the top, just like this, like I did. And what we're looking for here is right here. Check this out. That is not happy for some reason. Let's get on the bench and see what's up with it. See it. So this is the adapter piece. It goes onto the shifter for the rod to go into, right? So when you shift, move this back and forth, it connects. So it's basically something like that. Slides the rod back and forth, right? Well, the problem is, while this slides on a certain way, see there, it locks it in. When you tighten it down, this is supposed to have a bushing in it. When I mean a bushing in here, it should look like this. So you should have bushings in here, and you should have bushings in here, and there's 0 bushings, which what I'm thinking is somebody probably had a shifter on this car at one point, aftermarket, and they got ready to sell the car, and they pulled their nice shifter out, and they slammed this back together and didn't realize that either bushings were gone, fell out, whatever happened, and that's what happened. Because these bushings aren't broke, even though I got brand new brass ones coming I'm gonna put in it, which are more heavy duty for here and here. And I've got the red mounts, which go here and up here on the front, which typically will tighten it up too, but these actually are not too bad. This one's soft, so that's good to change that one. This one's actually not bad, and it is hard. But anyway, I got new ones coming, so I put the bushing here on the back, here on the front, and then these brass bushings here go into this piece and this one. You can tell the holes, different sizes, how it fits. But either way, they'll be here later in the week, and I'll put the shifter back together, and it's gonna tighten up the whole shifting experience so much. All right, I'm finishing the transmission. Royal Purple Synchromax. A little vacuum suction here, turkey baster you can call it. Suck that out. Go up in here, plug it into the top one there, shove it in. Just that simple. And you keep doing it until it starts running out and it levels itself like the rear end and you're ready to go. And I was able to pull all these cables, took the bottom of the back seat out. It's laying there. And I was able to pull these extra cables out. So we got our blue turn on for the amp, got our subwoofer control, and yeah, and our RCA jacks here. So I've got the power steering fluid cycled out, new Mercon in there, that's good. Topped off the brake fluid, .3, because I'm getting ready to start bleeding the brakes. And I was looking at the calipers here and I'm like, man, those things are just nasty. So I think I'm gonna take them apart and paint them, just because why not? That's how I do it if it was my car. And he's pretty much giving me carte blanche to do what I need to do to this car to make it, you know, unique and nice. So I need to go in here and clean all the struts and clean the wheel wells real good, just get it out from where it's been driven. And then I'll touch these up, make them look nice. Also grease the pins here, which makes sure they slide right, and bleed the brakes all down, put new fluid in it. So I got new .3 fluid, and just generally just make it look like the nice car that it is. Hey, what's up YouTube? So I'm gonna go to the barbershop today. Been doing this just because, growing my hair out, beard, a lot of salt and pepper, but that's going today. But anyway, real quick, I'm getting ready to put the brakes back together. The bracket now is painted, the caliper's painted, but I've got my synthetic caliper grease here. I'm actually gonna put this on these pins that slide back and forth, make sure that works well. And yeah, just wanted to show you how it goes back together and what you use behind the scenes. All right, so the paint project is finished. Caliper's blue, holding brackets silver. Went ahead and greased in here where the pads slide back and forth, along with the attaching hardware there, right here on the pins, so they slide back and forth nicely. Everything's good. I took a rag and I cleaned all the inside of this out. I cleaned the strut and the sway bar, so you'll notice it looks a lot nicer. Same thing on the back. Cleaned all this and did the whole paint thing here and cleaned up. But you'll notice the rear end is no longer rusty. It is black, just because I couldn't stand to see it all rusty like that. So I did paint it black and finished all the other things. So all I gotta do now is bleed the brakes. I can put the wheels back on, it'll cover this up, you won't see it. What I do recommend is just to put a little dab of anti-seize around here and around the hub. That'll help this slide off later so it doesn't stick. But don't get any anti-seize on your studs. Just a little bit around this and where the wheel attaches. Just a little trick. All right, so now I've finished bleeding all the brakes with the assistance of Mrs. TTSaleen. She's in there pumping the brakes. She started the back right one, then the back left, then the front right, then the front left. And I let it run till I see clear the new fluid coming out. And then you come up here and you keep filling this. And when you're done, you should be somewhere between min and max. This is min, this is max. It's just at the minimum, so I'll add a little bit more to get it halfway in between, and we'll be good to go. A 12-inch subwoofer with the box that fits in the back of these cars, 05 and up. And it doesn't come with an amp, it's just a speaker, so you hook your wires right here, positive and negative, which is why I put that Boss amp, 1100 watt amp, up there. I've just got to run my wires over here once I'm out the box. So the box is going to go right here in the corner. I'll hook the wires to it, and it's going to be ready to thump. All right, installation is pretty straightforward. Remove the screws, pull the sub out. They give you this hardware. You get a cover for the subwoofer to protect it. But then for the box, you have to take the subwoofer out because you need to drill 2 holes in here and run screws down attached to the floor. But also you need to make your own wire. So I made my wire, I use red and black, and I tinned it, which means you put solder on the end to make a good connection. I'll go ahead and connect that up to here, red to the top, black to the bottom. And then I'll put it in the car, mount the enclosure, run my wire, hook it to the amp. All right, got it in. You fold this under itself so it doesn't go under your piece there. That way you can pull it out later if you have a flat tire. I used a drill bit, a 9/64 drill bit, kind of made in the center here where your black is and your V. Drilled a pilot hole, ran their screw with the flat washer, and I made sure it wasn't gonna hit anything. And you can see that's where the screw comes out there, nothing around it. Plenty of room. The screw's super long, it don't need to be that long, but I'm not gonna put two in it. One holds it just fine, nice and tight. So now I'll put my sound mat back inside, hook this up to the sub, mount the sub, and then put this cover over top of the sub like that, which will basically protect the sub from anything sliding into it. So I got my brass inserts in for the shifter from Wang Chung, I guess that's how you say that. This is what it looked like. Really cool pieces. You see there's different sizes here. And this is the piece that attaches onto the bottom of the shifter. So those are plastic, those are gonna come out. And the biggest issue with this shifter I found is these bushings are missing. So put the piece in your vise, take a little flat screwdriver, pop them out. Pretty easy, top and bottom, just like that. Mine were super tight, so I took a round tail file, put in here like this on both sides, and just open up a little bit. And then these start in there a lot better, and I'll take my vise and push them on down. Just like that, tighten it up. Boom, done. Check it out. Nice, right? Now I'll squeeze it on the other side, and this lower part will be done, and it drops on here like so, and then we'll fix the other side. These are actually for the front of the arm, not for here, so I got to figure out a way to make that tight, but we'll get there. Alright, we just took it out, washed it off, got it clean, doing the test drive on the way back, running nice and smooth, everything's working great. What's up, YouTube? So Saturday, the owner's coming to get the car today. It is finished. I've got it open so he can check it out. You know how I got all the greasy tire shine somebody put on it out from under the hood. His last guy that detailed it, he kind of did a somewhat okay job, but you normally, if you put that stuff on, you have to wipe it off so it's not greasy. He didn't do it. To show you what I like using this stuff here called pig spit. It's what they use on motorcycles because you can't have anything slippery on the motorcycle, it'll fly off. You spray this on, and then I like to wipe it in, and it gives it the same kind of finish there. But anyway, basically I had to wash the engine bay and dry everything off, and then now we do this. There's no greasy residue, which is nice. Other than that, everything's checked out, all the fluid levels where they need to be. Set the tire pressure. That this car likes 36 pounds, about a window sticker or the sticker in the door. So set all the tire pressures, wipe it off. It is good to go now. The only issue is I hurt myself a couple days ago. I actually fell in the house and fell into the tub and I have messed up my shoulder and my hand swollen on these two fingers, messed up my forearm and KO'd my shoulder. Like, I don't know what I did to it, but it is not functional very well. And the reason I bring that up is I was going to cut and buff this car, but unfortunately I can't with my shoulder the way it is. So what I did, I had the wife go with me, and we washed it yesterday, hand washed it, and dried it off. Came in and wiped it down real quick, and I wiped all the wheels and everything off, and the wheel wells and all real clean now. Luckily, I finished all the hard, heavy-duty stuff before I got hurt, like the shifter and all, but I'll tell you, that shifter feels great. It shifts just like butter, and it's tight now. A lot better than it was when I brought it in. The brake calipers, as you know, I painted those. They look really nice behind the wheels. That's a Ford blue high-temp coating, and I did the silver and then the blue, so it blends in. It doesn't just stand out like it's obvious, but it is cool, nice addition. And everything else works great. Drives great, sounds great, active exhaust works, no rattles. So that'll be the end of this project. Just wanted to show you. Of course, there's no me out driving crazy on this car. I mean, on the way home, I was making boosts to make sure it would work. But it's a really nice car. He should enjoy it for years to come.